should know this well. Ain't trying to wish you ill. Hope this life treats you swell. Oh yeah, PS, go fuck yourself.
What's going on, everybody? My name's Hajilicious. Welcome back to my prediction series. Today, we're taking on the Week 9 NFL matchup of Raiders versus Broncos. But as always, let's get into the last week's matchup of Raiders at Buccaneers. And this game was a fucking mindfuck. This game, the highs were very high and the lows were very low. But let me first let's get into the lows here. The Raiders have set an NFL record. And usually when people set, well, they set two NFL records. Well, just franchise record and an NFL record. Usually that's a good thing. Usually when you hear teams break records, that's good. Well, the Raiders ended up winning today 30-24, despite setting a new NFL penalty record of 23 penalties for 200 yards. 200 yards. 200 fucking yards of penalties. This was one of the most undisciplined games I've ever seen in my life out of any team ever. And the Raiders usually, don't surprise me when it comes to undisciplined play, because it doesn't seem to matter whether it's the fucking players or the coaching staff. The team is just undisciplined. And normally, throwing up that kind of penalty yardage is a surefire way to get your ass blown out by 30, but the Raiders prevailed on the backs of Derek Carr, who had some angels in the outfield shit going on for him today. He threw 59 passes for 512 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's the third quarter and no interceptions, which set a record. He put himself in a category with Y.A. Tittle and Ben Roethlisberger as the only quarterbacks to ever do that. I mean, granted, it took Carr an extra quarter to get this done, but man, he was dropping dimes all over the Bucs secondary all day long. Amari Cooper had a career day with 12 catches for 173 yards and a score, and Michael Crabtree added 8 catches for 108 yards. And that was just those two. Carr hit 10 receivers in this game, 8 of whom had more than one reception. And one of the touchdown passes was to left tackle Donald Penn. I love me a fat man score, especially against his own team. There is nobody in the crowd, in the entire planet, happier for that touchdown than Donald Penn. He got a little bit of revenge on his old team, and good for him, because they cast him off thinking he didn't have much left in the gas tank, and he's been a star left tackle for us. Kudos to Donald Penn. What a motherfucker. This game, though, I watched until, I think it didn't end until about 3 o'clock my time, where it was just a fucking penalty after penalty. There was a situation where the Raiders had fucking 5 penalties in a row. It was like a PI, 12-man on the field, another PI, 12-man on the field, and then a hold. Like, it was just absolutely atrocious. I've never seen an undisciplined. I mean, if it wasn't for the penalties, the Raiders should have blown the Bucs out of the water. And here's a very interesting stat: the Raiders had more penalties, 23 for more yards, 200, than Jameis Winston had completions at 16 and yards at 180. The Raiders spotted the Bucs more field position than they could get on their own, and they still couldn't win. And that was on top of Janikowski missing 2 game-winning field goals, one in overtime and one at the end of regulation. The Raiders had so many opportunities to put this game away, but they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And that's one problem that I've had with this Raiders team all fucking year, is their inability to close out games. This is the kind of game where they should have saw, and conquered. And, I mean, for the most part of it, they did. I mean, the worst area of the entire team was special teams, where Janikowski missed those 2 field goals, and Marquette King had himself an uncharacteristic day, which he still had like a 67-yard punt, and he still had another 50-yard punt. Like, he leads the league in 50-yard punts and pinning you behind the 20 and behind the 10, which his game sounds a lot worse than it really was. Like, it was a good game. It was probably his worst game ever, but it was still a pretty good game. And that says a lot about that guy, because Marquette King is a motherfucker. Couple things here. The Raiders now 5-0 on the road. Fucking color me fucking stupid. I cannot believe this is happening. They just swept through Florida. It's the first time in franchise history that the Oakland Raiders started 5-0 on the road. I'm sorry, this is the first time since 1997 or 1977, with when they finished with a 11-3 record. They went to the championship game that year. This was their franchise high offense for the Raiders. Offense put up 626 yards, which ties the franchise single game record set on October 25th, 1964 against Denver. The team also finished with a 500-yard passer and two 100-yard receivers, Coop and Crabtree. The only team so far in the NFL to do that this season. Amari Cooper, man, like, there's some days where he has uncharacteristic drops. He's a little quiet. Today was not that day. He was Superman out there. He was catching, minus a easy touchdown he could have got at the end of the game and in regulation to put it away that he dropped. He was lights out for the rest of the day. Him and Michael Crabtree were putting the Bucs to fucking work. Brent Grimes and Vernon Hargreaves didn't really have an answer for those two. Raiders defense. Now here's something I wanted to get into, because I've been a big critic of the Raiders defense because I think they're playing soft. We don't have any interior rushers. That's been a big problem. Is Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin have been getting there. They've been getting close to the quarterback, and they've getting their hits. They're getting the occasional sacks. But what's happening is these guys, when they rush the edge, all the quarterback has to do is step up into the pocket because there's absolutely no interior rush. That has become a fucking huge problem for this team. The run defense was something I was scared about in this because Jacquizz Rodgers has been having himself some back-to-back games, and the Raiders, for whatever reason, can't stop the run. Today, they did that. They gave up 103 yards, which was, close. That's anytime you break 100 yards, it's kind of a loss in the run game, but it was 103 yards of pointless runs. And you might be confused by that, but they weren't runs that, got first downs, got touchdowns. It was just decent, solid running. And Ken Norton Jr. has been catching a lot of flack, but his schemes were working well today. And if you want a good testament to that, look at the 4 catches for 50 yards and no touchdowns that Mike Evans was shut down to. With him out of the game, Jameis Winston was one-dimensional. It seemed like the Dirk Coder didn't really have faith in He didn't have faith in his kicker for missing field goals. Okay, let me get into this really quick since I have this on my mind. The Raiders have been notorious in years past for playing not to lose, which ironically is a good way to lose games. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did that. They did a weird call right before halftime. They had about 2 minutes left on the clock, and they just knelt the ball out, ran the clock out, and went to halftime. They did that again going into overtime, where they just, for whatever reason, wanted just to expire the clock. They didn't go for the kill shot. And that's what Derek Carr was doing all fucking game, was trying to get that kill shot. But those penalties were just driving him backwards. And eventually he got the job done, but the Bucs looked deflated. When they did the coin toss at the end of regulation for overtime, Derek Carr is sitting there bouncing around, happy, jacked, looking like he's having the time of his life. And you see sunken shoulders from Jameis Winston, not really enthusiastic about what's going on. And it's that killer instinct in Carr, this fire that's inside this kid that is fucking amazing. He is a leader. He's a bona fide fucking stud. I am running out of things to say about this guy every single week. This week was he's had his foot in the door for the MVP candidate pretty much all year. He's been in the conversation, but this is the game people are going to look at. People will forget about the penalties and will look at this game on how he threw the team on his back and overcame. I'm starting to get used to the feeling that this team's got going places with Derek Carr. It's hard for me to shake years and years of the dark ages where, we couldn't trust a fucking 3-score lead. DC just comes in and gets the job done. But next week is the division runs through Denver. I'm still going to say that the division runs through Denver so far. Until proven otherwise, Denver's the legitimate threat in this league. And next week is a home game against the Denver Broncos, who just knocked off the San Diego Chargers 27-19. They improved to 6-2. The Raiders still hold the tiebreaker against them for their one win over the Chargers. I'm not sure. Actually, I would have to check on that now because it still says they're in second place. But I would assume because we split. They split with the Chargers and we split. I mean, I guess until we play the Chargers again, we would still hold that. But anyways, this game worries me because the Denver Broncos don't have much of an offense right now, but their defense is fucking killer. And I don't want to insult the Broncos fans when I say they don't have much of an offense. When CJ Anderson went down, I mean, you guys did good today. 27 points. I mean, the Broncos they're a legit team. And I want to see how the Raiders stack up against this because the no-fly zone is what scares the shit out of me right now. I'm not sure how much DC's going to go out there guns blazing against those guys. And they're going to have their work cut out for them. Keith Talib and Chris Harris, TJ Ward, those boys are fucking legit. Legit as fuck. And they terrify the shit out of me when I think about this game. What the Raiders are going to need to do to win this, though, is they're going to have to run the ball efficiently. And so far this year, they've had a pretty average run game, which has been just enough to keep defenses honest to let Carr light them up. So this game, I could see the Broncos really shutting down Carr, getting after Carr, especially exploiting our problems at right tackle. I mean, Austin Howard got his ass lit up by that Spence cat. I mean, he just got brutalized by him. So I would expect Miller, Ware, all those boys to be coming after him, trying to get after Carr, because that's how they're gonna have to beat us, is by making Carr uncomfortable and get after him, which for fucking whatever reason, Carr kind of plays better under duress. Another thing, though, is the Broncos defense has been a little soft against the run, and that's what I was saying. They need to establish a run game in this, and that's been one easy way to, not the easy way to beat them, but the easiest way to beat them has been running the ball. But if they could stop the run and limit Murray, Richard, and Washington, I mean, their work's going to be cut out for them. Until proven otherwise, like I have the Raiders this year splitting with the Broncos, and I have them winning in Denver because for whatever reason we played better in Denver, and this year obviously we've been playing better on the road. But this game against the Broncos right now, I got them right now at 30-24 Denver, picking up the win here. The Raiders doing a lot to impress me, and they've done a lot on offense to impress me, but there's still a lot of stuff they're doing wrong. And until proven otherwise, the defending Super Bowl champs, the defending AFC West champions, have the edge in this game. Even though it's an away game for Denver, they play good in our house. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. It's 30-24 Denver. So we're going to go with that. Raiders are going to fall to 6-3, second division. I mean, this division's going to be, it's going to come down to the last couple weeks because everything is neck and neck right now. You cannot count out any team right now. The Broncos and the Raiders are ahead in the division right now, but the Chiefs and the Chargers are right there. The Chiefs are something that scares the shit out of me, and they've already lost one. We've already lost once to the Chiefs. Alex Smith has been playing at a phenomenal level. You can never count those guys out. You can't count out the Chargers. You sure as fuck can't count out the Broncos. So that's when I'm going to go here. 30-24 Denver. Raiders lose this one. Thanks guys for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, go fuck yourselves and go Raiders.